So it's been a really long time since I've actually filmed a deck walkthrough for my channel. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Mainly it's because I just haven't had any new decks come into my life this year, because I've been really trying to focus on working with the decks that I've already got. And also it's because I haven't really figured out how I want to do walkthroughs and whether I want to do them at all. They're not the kind of video that I necessarily seek out to watch, and I don't necessarily want to make them in the way that I like to watch them. So I'm having that kind of, I don't really know the best way to go about this kind of thing going on. But I have recently had a birthday and I had some new decks come into my life, and they were all decks that I really, really wanted. So I thought I would do a flip through of the decks. I'm not going to really talk all that much about them unless I have something to say while we go through the actual cards. And then I'm going to flip it around a bit. So I'm going to do the flip through of the cards first, and then I'll talk a bit about the cards and the card stock and stuff. And then I'll talk about the guidebook and the box for people who are interested in those kind of things. So starting with the cards, you can see that it's the Shadowland Tarot from the title. And this is by Monica Bordiski. It's published by Schiffer Publishing, and it is reasonably new. It came out this year sometime, I think, but I can't remember exactly when. I first heard about this deck last year from Kelly Bear. It's been on my list ever since. It is absolutely my aesthetic. It kind of has that Tim Burton feel to it, where it's kind of horror but done in a very soft, cuddly, cute kind of way almost. And I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go through the pictures with you, the images with you, and then we'll talk about other things. And hopefully you can see them okay, because it's pissing it down with rain outside, so the lighting is not great. So for the most part, you can see that they're a Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck. There's not a huge amount of changes in the cards, but then there are cards like this one, you don't have the two supplicants, for example. So there are some changes, but overall it has that same kind of feel as an RWS. This girl appears quite a lot throughout this deck, and she really reminds me of Samara from The Ring, which is a film I like, and a character which is a pretty popular one. So I like that she comes up again and again and again in this deck. I love that the Hermit is a ghost in a sheet. Something about that just really amuses me. And something I really like about the Justice card is that it kind of like shows 3 stages of life here. So you've got the eggs, and then you've got this little baby bird here, and then you've got this adult bird here, which is an interesting little thing to add into that particular card. And some have more to work with, some have less to work with, but I think that's the same with a standard RWS personally. I love that this little girl actually has the lobster on a lead like a pet. Well, or the crayfish. I don't think it is a lobster. I think it's a crayfish. I don't know if they're different. Don't really know enough about seafood. And the sun. He's actually got the sun like it's a balloon. I love this deck. This is probably one of my least favourites. I like the name change. I like the change from Judgment to Discretion. I think it works, but I'm just not sure that I like the depiction of the card. Into the minors. I like the look on this guy's face, actually. I think sometimes the Four of Pentacles can be a bit miserly. It can have that kind of miserly feel where I'm keeping all of the money for myself and I'm you know, I'm a bit grouchy and stuff. But I think this guy just looks really happy with what he's got. He's like, it's mine and I'm happy and I love it and I don't give a shit. And I really like that. I tell you what else this deck for me has a bit of a feel for in some of the cards. It reminds me a little bit of the Far Side cartoons that were really popular in the 90s. I don't know why. It just kind of has that same sort of energy to me. And I loved those little cartoons. We had like calendars and a book and all sorts. I was a big fan of the Far Side. So I think that's another reason why I just really like this deck. Now, this card is probably my favourite, but only because I love the film Trick or Treat. And the one thing I love most about that film is the character of Sam, which is short for Samhain, which is really adorable. And he's just this freaky but somehow adorably cute little pumpkin head boy. Not a pumpkin head, he's got like a sack on his head boy. Very much like this depiction here. And it just, I love it. I love him, and so I just love this card. I love this card so much. I like this interpretation of the Three of Swords. I like that he's like genuinely wearing his heartache and his pain out there for all the world to see, and he just doesn't give two shits about it. He's like, yeah, I'm cool, whatever, you know. Yeah, it is what it is. I can manage. You know, it just has that real feel to me. Maybe I'm seeing something other people aren't seeing, but I quite like that way of interpreting that card. A little bit of Nessie for my Scottish roots. I love that. I'm sorry, my cat and my dog are winding each other up and he's just walked into the table. I'll try and speed this up a bit, shall I? Oh, they're a bit sticky. Is it just me, or does this one look like this octopus is luring the boat? like, look, come here towards where the light is. I mean, that's not how lighthouses work. I'm aware they are actually to show the ship where not to go, but still, it amused me. I feel this mouse's pain, I swear. I honestly thought, when I saw this in other videos and other like clips of this card, I honestly thought that this fish was smoking a cigar, but he's actually got like a party thing, you know, those things that make the noise, the noise. He's actually got one of them. I thought he was smoking a cigar. I know that she's got like a school uniform on. Because creepy kids gotta go to school, right? And I love that he has the bandages. This is like a mummy. It's like, no, no, I don't want to be no mummy no more. I'm shredding my bandages. And I'm going out there and my bare-ass naked skeleton for the world to see. I love that the Page of Cups fish creature has a smaller fish creature in his cup. It's little things like that that just really amuse me. I'm a bit of a child, I'm aware. Talking about the cards themselves, they are, as you can see, gilded. I personally am not a fan of gilded edges. I don't love it. I don't hate it, and it doesn't bother me, and I can live with it, but I don't love it. And I thought I would really hate the backs of these cards, because I'm not the biggest fan of the colour yellow, but this is like a mustard yellow, so it's quite dark. I don't think the camera's really doing it justice. And actually, it really works. For whatever reason, it just really works. And I opened the cards and I looked at it and I was like, I actually really like this. Cardstock, I don't know about like GSM and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know if that's the right 3 letters. But it's pretty sturdy. It bends pretty well. It's resilient, which I like. Probably going to be a bit of a pain to shuffle because it's a bit stiffer, but it'll just need wearing in a little bit, I think. The box is pretty large, which again is standard for a lot of decks nowadays because it comes with a much bigger guidebook. It is a magnetic clasp, which I like. I'm a big fan of these, and it's something really small, but that really matters to me is that although the box is, you know, is obviously designed to lie flat like this, it is designed to go on your bookshelf, stood up the right way with the title going the right way. And I'm one of those people where that matters. So personally, I really appreciate that. And it also has a proper insert for the cards to sit in, which is great because it means that they don't slide about all over the place, and they also don't have to be separated into 2 parts, which I also am not a big fan of. One other thing about the cards that I don't think I mentioned is that they are reversible. I know that for some people this really matters. I'm one of those people who really isn't that bothered by the backs of cards, if I'm completely honest, which is why, even though I didn't think I'd like the back of the cards, I didn't really care, because it's just not something that I'm bothered by. But I know it's something that matters for some people, and some people like their cards to be reversible and some don't. These ones are. So something else to bear in mind. In terms of the book itself, Again, I'm not overly fussy about the guidebook, but one thing that worries me when you get a guidebook that is this thick is that there's going to be a lot of superfluous information that I'm really not going to care about. And for me, the whole point of a guidebook is to complement and add something to the deck. This one does a brilliant job of that. It's that really like shiny plasticky paper, which I love because it smells divine. Just saying, I have had a sniff already. But as you can see, for the most part, the contents is made up of card information. You've got a foreword and a preface and an introduction about shadow work in general, and you know what's inside it and stuff. And then you go straight into the cards, and all of the cards, including the minor, so major and minor, have 2 pages of information. So you get this coloured thumbnail. Can you hear the rain? It's really coming down out there now all of a sudden. We've had nothing but rain for like 8 days in a row now, maybe. It's rained every day, but I don't mind a bit of rain. Anyway, it comes with a colour thumbnail of the card. Again, it isn't really something that I care about. I am not bothered if my guidebook has a thumbnail, doesn't have a thumbnail, if the thumbnail's in colour, if it's not in colour. I don't really care. But I know that some people do, so it's great that it has it. It has these little like phrases for each card. I don't know what you would call that. I don't know, like a little key phrase. So for the Seeker, for example, it says, "I'm just beginning a journey of discovery and not sure which way to go or what I might find, but I am going to take a chance." And then you have a description of the card itself. You have some keywords, and then some keywords that are named shadows, which in other books would be called reversed, I guess. And then you have the message from the card, which is a pretty substantive write-up for a lot of the cards. And like even when you get into the minors, okay, so that's one thing I didn't notice, was the minors don't have these little key phrasey thingies. Fair enough. But all the other information is the same, and they all have reflections. So for the Seeker, for example, you have, what am I seeking at this stage in my life? Am I feeling reckless? Do I feel stuck on my current path, unable to start again, or do I change paths whenever things get difficult? Why am I resisting beginning a journey? What type of journey is appropriate this time? And what steps do I need before I start with this journey? Wowzer, it's got really dark. I don't know how to lighten that up anymore for you, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, it's not great. It's not great at all. Yeah. Anyway, I love these reflections. This is probably one of my favourite things about this guidebook. I think this is a great deck to draw from daily and just ask the question, what is it that I need to reflect on today? And then you could pick one or more of the reflections questions to actually journal on. I love that. I think that's probably one of the major ways I'm going to use this deck. As I say, the deck mostly focuses on the cards. And then right at the end, you get how to use this card. So you get how to bond with them, how to keep them clean and store them, how timing for readings, how to ask questions, symbolism of the elements. And then for the major arcana, you get a basic card interpretation list. You get a numerology list, so it gives you keywords for the numerology. A bit about court cards and reversals, and then, you know, how to shuffle, that kind of thing. And then finally we get card layouts. And there are quite a few different card layouts for you to try out, which I like. And then it talks right at the end about creating your own spreads, ideas for creating your own spreads. And then you get an FAQ at the end. So it's a really good, it's a really substantial guidebook, but for the most part, the guidebook focuses on each of the cards. And that's one thing that is important to me. When I get a guidebook of this size, I know I've already said this, but there is always that worry for me that it's going to have a lot of information in it that I just don't care about, or that I don't necessarily need from a guidebook because I can get it from other books on the market that are designed to give me that information. I want my guidebook to focus on the actual deck that it comes with, and this book does that really, really well. So there we go. That is the Shadowland Tarot. As I say, I do have a few other decks that I'm gonna walk through, and I'm probably gonna play about with the format a bit because I'm still trying to figure out if I like doing walkthroughs and how I want to do them. Feel free to leave me suggestions in the comments below. I may not take them on board, but I will certainly read them. And yeah, thanks very much. If you made it all the way through to the end, I will see you all shortly for another one. Take care, everyone, and lots of love. Bye bye.